as great as it is to see you both, this one's a conflicting one for me. To know that, the harrowing reason that pulled you back together. And it just, to me, is so at the core of everything System of a Down's ever been about. It suddenly struck me that this music that we go and we rock out to and we love always has purpose. I got to ask on behalf of all of us individually how it felt for the two of you, starting with you, Shavo, actually, when you got that text and how you felt.
I wanted to say it. I swear I'm not saying this because it was said by someone, but I think we all wanted to say it. John took the initiative and said it. And once he said it, we jumped to it. To my surprise, everyone was involved. Everyone was into it. Darren right away said, "Oh, I have something that, so we could save time, because we could have gone in there. We could have sat there and written music. We all have stuff happening. We all have thoughts. But he had something ready to go. And this is so time sensitive. It was so time sensitive that, I'm so happy that it happened the way it did, And so the way it felt was that I have this unexplainable emotion to help, to this urgency, to whatever I can do. I can't grab a gun and go. I'm not trained. That's not my forte. My forte is doing what we do. And it came together. And just to say, even hearing the song, and then once we did it, the emotions every time I heard it ran really deep.
It's one thing to kind of sit down and go artistically, what do I like? What do I want to do? What is the direction forward, whether as a solo artist or as a member of a band? It's another thing when your brothers hit you up and go, there's war going on. What are we going to do? I'm not sure people are aware, but when Azerbaijan and Turkey decided to attack the peaceful people, Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, of Artsakh, and they not only launched a military campaign with tanks and drones and all this stuff, but they also launched a huge disinformation propaganda campaign to try to create false parity in the press. They lied from the first minute and said, "Oh, Armenia is the one that attacked." That wasn't true because the Armenians were protecting their lands and they came to attack. Like they had to come to attack. It's impossible. So for me, we needed to fight this disinformation and propaganda. And the best way to do it was to create this, this incredible reaching out to tens of millions of System of a Down fans that could energize all around the world and say, "Oh, this is actually happening. And this is important to these guys." And have excitement around it. And we basically, how do you say it? We broke into their propaganda immediately. Like the release of the song and the press around it up their propaganda campaign, at least for a little while.
I wonder how you balance that responsibility that you clearly feel to do something and to want to take part and to want to change things, but knowing the power that your music carries and also the effects it has on you personally. That is a very heady concoction. That's a chemistry. And I wonder how, having released these two songs, long question, I know, but I'm trying to word things very carefully out of respect, how it makes you feel individually, not as a group, can't speak for the whole band, how it makes you feel individually coming back as a band right now.
Man, from day one, even when we disbanded for a little while in 05 or 06, I'm always a supporter. I'm always on the side of this needs to be going on forever. We never will call it quits. I will refuse. I don't care. I'll refuse if anyone else does. We'll call it quits. I'm not going to call it quits. As long as we're all still alive, we're going to be the unit that we are. The thing is that for it to come out as good as it did and as good as it might in the future, we all have to be on the same wavelength and be as content and happy with what we're doing. And if one of us is not, it won't be what it should be or what it needs to be. That's the deciding factor of if we should or not. And
exactly.
In 15 years, if we had and we did it with someone less heartened, if someone's heart wasn't as much as the other two or the other three or the other one, it wouldn't be what it needs to be. So I say everything I'm saying with in the mind state of hopefully we all feel the same again to do it again. If we don't, I'm not going to take this much. I'll rather take the full thing. You know what I mean?
It felt beyond special. It felt very natural and it's something we've done for so long together, and especially having a cause that, for me, that was the most important thing. It's one thing, like I said, it's one thing to do something for yourself and for your band and for music itself, or whatever you want to call it, for your career or for your business, or it's another thing to do it for something completely outside of yourself in every way. Donate the proceeds, and the song or the group of the songs become a part of the activism, like a strong part of it. I think it's unique that we've done that with this band. We've done it in the past throughout our music, with different songs. Obviously, we have songs that are not necessarily socio-political and are fun and all sorts of stuff. But I think when we have done this, we've done it really well. And this time, it's exceptional in that sense. Not to praise us or anything like that, but the fact that we used it as a weapon, unapologetically, and that's what it should have been.
I want to ask you this, because I've always wanted to ask two of you this, at least, because I always wanted to respect Serge when it came to the System of a Down story, and we talked about it, but we never went crazy on it. But I wanted to ask the two of you this. There's obviously some personal disconnection when it comes to the creating of the music of direction. That's what keeps getting thrown out there. Direction. But it's obviously not personal, because you tour when you can, when you all can, and you play live. And those shows, you're not lying. Like, I've seen those shows. They are System of a Down shows. They are not cashing checks. They are real shows. And so how does that work? Like, normally when bands have personal differences, the whole thing is off the table, right? I don't want to be on a bus with you. I don't want to be on a plane with you. I don't want to see you again for the rest of my life. Our era is done. But it seems to me like there's a caveat here with this, that it just comes down to creative process. Personally, you seem fine.
I mean, personally, as friends, we have love and respect for each other beyond, so that's why we're able to tour with each other, hang out with each other, have dinner with each other. We're friends. We're family. We visit, our kids play together. My drummer's my brother-in-law, for God's sakes. Like, even if we have different, even
family,
yeah,
family. What can you do?
Family.
What can you do?
There's no running away, Zane. There's no running away.
We really all have those cousins, bro. We all have those cousins.
This cousin happens to be your drummer.
Yeah, totally. So,
family, you gotta love it.
It's not personal, just as you stated, Zane. It's philosophical. It's like the way you see things and see the way you see the music going forward, what it means to you, what System of a Down might mean to you, and there has been a discrepancy in that, but that obviously didn't stop us from jumping on board for doing something for our people, which is beautiful. And so I don't know what else to say. I think that's where it's at.
Hey, guess what? Chop Suey just crossed 1 billion streams now. Now, before anybody starts to be like 1 billion streams, that is fucking huge. I want to know just some reflection about that and on this milestone, because we are reflecting a little bit, and that song still matters to people.
More than making the song, the memory that hits me as soon as you said Chop Suey and the time that it's gone by. Chop Suey was released September. I don't know if Shav, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I want to say like a day or two before September 11, 2011.
It was one exact week. It was 1 week prior.
And on September 11th, when, the whole, planes crashing in the World Trade Center, that catastrophe happened, our Chop Suey, our song was number one. Our record was number one. Our album was number one. And the whole, felt like the whole world was exploding. And they took our song off the radio. Mm-hmm. Chop Suey was, because it had the word suicide in it, self-righteous suicide. Everyone was calling us going, how did you guys know, and all this stuff. And we're all weirded out and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Meanwhile, we go on tour because we were booked to tour on Toxicity, the record, with Chop Suey as the single. And every day I remember those, Shav will remember the different, orange and red and danger, basically, the news basically saying the danger signals and there might be terrorist attacks elsewhere.
Terrorist alert.
Every day.
Alert,
It was daunting time. So when I think of Chop Suey, I can't think of how we actually sat in the studio and worked on it. I'm thinking of 9/11, going on tour, thinking we might die any night, and
anxiety levels must have been through the roof.
The Pledge of Allegiance tour. That was the name of the tour, a Pledge of Allegiance to America. So it seemed kind of contrived, the whole thing we did. So I woke up to the morning, my phone blowing up, and I was trying to, it was those last couple of days at home. I was trying to really knowing I'm going on tour in a couple of days. I answered the phone. It was my mom, and my mom saying, "Turn the TV on. There's chaos happening in America." I turned the TV on. I saw it was like 9:15. I saw a tower fall. My phone beeped. And I went to the other line, and it was my manager, and he goes, "Congratulations, you're number one on Billboard." In the same thought process of what's happening in New York, I'm in LA, what's happening in New York, and then, oh, whoa, we just went number one. And remember, it was our second record. We weren't famous yet. We had a record. It was very humble. We did what we had to do. We toured and came back home and wrote this other record, and we released it. This was going to be our first tour for our second sophomore record, So yeah, until today, when people ask me, it's bittersweet about number one.
Yeah.
It's I didn't know how to, it was such a weird time. And that day our crew was flying out to go set up the tour to the first city. They were held up at the airport. Yeah, we didn't know where they were. I started calling everybody. Because our crew back then were a lot of our friends. Our drum tech was like one of Darren's best friends in the world, so we knew him as like a friend. So I called him where he is. It was such a crazy time.
It just becomes this thing of art and life coming together, and so often it can stick with you. That can really stick with you. It becomes part of your legacy without you even meaning to, right? It must have been something that was, as you were pushing forward and making new music, were you conscious of that for whatever reason, you'd found yourselves creating art and life had met at this really catastrophic crossroad?
Personally, it didn't. I always feel like the muse is the honest truth, basically through collective unconscious, and that the skill is to learn how to download that, if you will, as an artist, and how to present it skillfully, if you will. So, I mean, that's what an artist is. An artist isn't one who creates something out of nothing, because that something is in the collective consciousness. An artist is one that can download that something and skillfully present it. So that truth is there in the universe of what's going to happen, what likely might happen, and all of that stuff. One thing I do remember about that story lyrically, and you'll appreciate this because I know you're friends with Rick Rubin, is that while I was writing the lyrics, Darren had written some lyrics for the song in the chorus and stuff, but I was writing majority of the verses and all the rest of the lyrics. And at one point we were in the studio, and I remember I was kind of stuck on the middle 8 section, the breakdown section, and Rick goes, "Let's take a break. Let's go to my house. Let's have some lunch." So we went over to his house, and he goes, he had a beautiful library, and he said, "Go pick a book. Just out of, use your intuition and just pick a book." I picked a book and just opened to a random page, stuck my finger out, and it was, what was it? The breakdown, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Suddenly it became a Jesus thing. And I'm like, oh my God, the self-righteous suicide became it just lent itself. And I'm like, oh my God, the universe literally wrote those lyrics.
That is unreal.
My finger just, yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.